Have you been thinking about how you can take over your parents' property without getting hit by a massive tax bill? Well, there's a smart way to do it, and we're here to break it down for you. Hi, I'm estate planning attorney Mike Smith with Smith Barid LLC, and I'm one half of the estate planning guys. Today, we're tackling a question many of you might have about how you can acquire your parents' property tax-free. It's simpler than you think, and I'll guide you through the steps to make it happen. So first, we need to have an understanding of what types of taxes might apply to a transfer of property from your parents to you. So first up, let's talk about the transfer taxes. These are taxes that can apply when property changes hands. And in the context of inheriting or receiving property from your parents, there are two main types of taxes that we want to transfer taxes that we want to consider. That's gift taxes and estate taxes. Now, gift taxes apply when someone gives you property during their lifetime. So while estate taxes apply to the inheritance of property, gift taxes apply during that person's lifetime. And the estate and gift tax is kind of a weird thing. It's what's called a unified tax. And that means that you have one exemption. It's currently $13.61 million per person, or $27.2 million for a married couple. And you can either use that exemption during your lifetime for gifts, or you can use it upon your death for transfers that happen through your estate. So we've got one exemption that we can use either for gift taxes or for estate taxes. And we can choose if we want to transfer property during our lifetime or we want to wait until afterwards. And the current exemption is $13.61 million. And for a married couple, it's double that. Now, the other thing to know about gift taxes is that we also have a federal gift tax annual exclusion amount. And that's an amount that each year your parents can give to you or to other people they want to leave things to. But they can give away a certain amount of property or money to an individual without having to worry about gift or estate taxes. So for 2024, this amount is $18,000 per recipient. And this means that each parent can give away $18,000 per person without triggering any gift tax consequences or estate tax, using any of the estate tax exemption. They don't need to file a gift tax return. They don't need to report it anywhere. So it's $18,000 per person per spouse for a married couple. And that's what's called gift splitting. And they can give it to as many people as they want to. So they might give $18,000 each to each child and then give some to grandchildren. And that would be a way that they could transfer property out of their estate, leaving it not exposed to gift tax liability or estate tax liability. That is a lifetime exemption, gift tax, estate tax. The next thing we need to talk about is another type of tax that could apply, and that is what's called capital gains tax. And let me come back to the estate tax real quick. The current exemption amount is $13.61 million, but I just want you to know, I want to be sure that I get this out there as often as possible, that the estate tax exemption will sunset in 2025, at the end of 2025. And what that means is that we will go back down to where we were in 2017, which is a $5 million exemption indexed to inflation. So that means it's tied to inflation. And we project that by the end of 2025, that exemption will be somewhere around the $7 million per person or $14 million for a married couple. But it's important that you keep that in mind going forward, that the estate tax is going to change in 2025, and you need to take a look at your planning to see if that impacts you at all. As I said, the other thing that we need to keep in mind as we discuss the possibility of transferring property from your parents to you is the capital gains tax. And so I'm going to briefly talk about, in basic terms, how it works. Capital gains tax applies to the profit that you make when you sell a property. And so you have something called basis in the asset, and that is basically what you've got in it, what you paid for it in a nutshell. That could also include any improvements that you made to the property, but basically what you've got in it. So what's the value for tax purposes as of the date that you acquired the property or after you made these improvements. And then the difference between that and what you sell it for is the capital gain. And then you pay tax on that capital gain. And the tax rate for capital gains tax ranges from around 15% to 20%, depending on, how much your income is. So 15 or 20, it depends on your income. That capital gains tax is also, so let me give an example. So let's say that we bought a property for $100,000 and then we sell it for $200,000. Our gain is $100,000 and we pay tax on the difference. So we pay tax on $100,000 at 20%, that's $20,000. So it can be a significant chunk of change that you pay in capital gains tax when you sell the property. The other thing to know about it is that your personal residence, you have an exemption of $250,000, or for a married couple, $500,000 to the capital gains tax. So if you're selling your personal property, your personal residence, and your gain is no more than $250,000 or $500,000 for a married couple, then you don't pay any capital gains tax on it. So a lot of times you don't think about that in terms of a personal residence. So if you're interested in learning more about how we help families protect their legacies from probate, predators, and government intrusions, I wrote a free book titled The Ultimate Gift that lays it all out. If you'd like to pick up your free copy of The Ultimate Gift, simply click the link below, give us your address and a credit card for shipping and handling fees, and we'll ship it out to you free of charge. Read The Ultimate Gift so you can learn how to protect your family. The capital gains tax, as I said, is levied on the profit from selling the property. And there's one other important thing to know about capital gains tax. When you inherit property, it comes with a tax benefit, and that's known as the step up in basis. This means that the property's basis, or its value for tax purposes, what you have in it, is stepped up to its fair market value at the time of the original owner's death. So using our example from before, the property was purchased for $100,000. It's now worth $200,000. If I inherit that property from my parents and I turn around and sell it, and I sell it for $200,000, then that gain is exempt from capital gains tax because I got to step up in basis. My value for tax purposes was $200,000. I sold it for $200,000, so I have no gain. I don't pay any capital gains taxes. That's a $20,000 savings in this particular example. So it's important to keep that in mind because that can be a significant chunk of change that will go to Uncle Sam if your parents give you the property during their lifetime and you then sell it for a gain. That in some circumstances won't matter. There are other reasons that we want to make the transfers, but it's just important to realize that you could be missing out on that step up in basis. So if the property is appreciated a lot over the original owner's lifetime, then it might not be worth it to transfer that property during your parents' lifetime because you could have a significant capital gains tax hit when you sell the property. Now, sometimes people say, well, I know my family's never going to sell it. It's a family farm. My kids are operating that farm. They don't intend to sell it. And so that might not be a consideration, but I just always want to make sure that people are aware of that step up in basis because that could be a significant tax hit down the road that you didn't think about. So it's particularly important when considering how to acquire your parents' property that you consider that inheriting the property as opposed to receiving it as a gift during their lifetime can significantly reduce the capital gains tax liability when you decide to sell that property down the road. The step up in basis essentially resets the property's taxable value, so it could save you a significant amount in taxes. Let's talk about how we could use a living trust for a property transfer. A living trust can be a really smooth way to transfer property after someone passes away. The trust is just a bucket that you're going to put the property into, and as long as the grantor, the person who created the trust, sometimes called a trust maker, as long as that person is alive and they're competent, then they have full control over the property in the bucket. When they pass away, the successor trustee takes over the bucket, and then they can distribute the property out of the trust to the beneficiaries that the trust maker has identified. That avoids having to go through probate. So if you own property in multiple states, it can avoid multiple probates. So I had a client recently I was working with that owned some condos in Florida as well as property in Georgia, and they were a Georgia resident. So we were able to create a living trust for them, which avoids their family having to deal with probate in Georgia and in Florida. So huge benefit to a living trust in those kind of circumstances. Additionally, property that's held in the living trust qualifies for that step up in basis when the original property owner dies. So you're not losing out on the capital gains tax benefits of inheriting the property, but you're making it a much smoother process with the living trust rather than having to go through the probate process when someone passes away. So that's another great way that you can transfer property very smoothly from parent to child. Other ways you can do it are through joint ownership. So let's talk about joint tenancy with rights of survivorship. That is a way that you can own property jointly, and when one of the joint tenants passes away, their share goes to the other joint tenants just by operation of law without having to go through any kind of probate process. I always want to caution folks on joint tenancy. It can be a great way to avoid probate. The one thing that people often don't think about with joint tenancy is that you're also taking on the potential liabilities of all those joint tenants. So if you, quote, go on the deed with your parents in a joint tenancy, and then you get in a car wreck, your parents might lose their house because you weren't a careful driver. So it's just something to understand about joint tenancy, so that you're making a good decision if you decide that if your parents decide that they want to enter into a joint tenancy with you. And then I don't want to leave out life estate deeds. So that is a way to transfer property while retaining the use of the property during your lifetime. So your parents could transfer a portion of the property to you, basically most of the rights to the property, and they could retain the right to use the property during their lifetime. And when they pass away, the property transfers to you without having to go through probate, and we can get the step up in basis that we've talked about with a life estate deed transfer. So that can be another way to transfer property. And then we've already talked about gifting. That can either be a one-time gift that uses a portion of the gift tax exemption, or we could break it down into annual gifts, annual lifetime exclusion gifts. And, we just need to reassess the value of the property every year and then figure out, what percentages we want to go to whom. So it can get a little complex, but that is a way to transfer the property while avoiding any potential transfer tax liability on it. Always keeping in mind what the capital gains might be. So understanding the intricacies of property transfer, including how to minimize taxes and take full advantage of laws like the step up in basis, it really requires expert guidance. And at Smith Barid, we're dedicated to helping you navigate these complex issues. So contact us today for personalized advice on acquiring your parents' property in the most tax efficient way possible. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please share and subscribe for more insights. And if you've got any questions or you need any advice, just drop a comment below or reach out to us directly. We're happy to help. Planning smart today can lead to significant savings tomorrow. See you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, then take a moment right now to subscribe by clicking below and turn on the bell notification so you get notified every time we post up a new video. Right now we're posting 3 videos a week with lots of information about various estate planning topics, so you're going to want to make sure to stay on top of that. Click below to subscribe and click right over here to watch the next most relevant video about estate planning. Go watch it now.